ओके, नमो
डॉक्टर साहब आपको भी और नीता जी को भी नमस्कार जी।
नमस्ते।
नमस्कार जी, नमस्कार
सबको
कोमल
बहुत बहुत
नमस्कार।
नमस्कार
स्नेह भरा नमस्कार।
अरे वाह, वो बहुत अच्छी है। ओम नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्र पराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्द योगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वातिककारमन्यानस्मत्कुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम्
नाम आलयं करुणा
नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। आज मैं मेरी रूम में कर रही हूँ, तो मेरे भगवान, मेरे गुरु सब सामने ही बैठे हैं। अच्छा लगता है। Okay, so last week we were looking at, so I was a little confused by some of the things, that what exactly Swamiji, I will have to talk with Swamiji. So we'll see on page 16. Very interesting. Before we do anything, on page 16 in the second paragraph, that I exist, I shine, 1, 2, 3, fourth line, last word, that I exist and I shine is complete. And that completeness or purnata is the object of love. So I had written, how do we say that this consciousness that is the self is purna? How do we say it is ananda? How do we say it is fullness? I'm putting the question to you all. I can't hear you, uncle. You have to connect properly.
No, when you see what is the problem now with me, I think that I am limited. I am a poor because of the ignorance, whatever you call it. So that is why I am in your words, I am a dooner throughout my life. I am searching something or the other. And that desire goes on increasing. One desire after the other comes. And I am never satisfied. Once I know the reality I have not known, but now you have told that I am complete. I am poor. So once I am satisfied that I am poor, so I have understood that if just by the sentences only, not probably contemplated, अभी digest नहीं हुआ है, तो I'll be happy. I will love myself. कि best I am poor. That is what I understand.
Okay. Anybody else? My question is, how do we say that consciousness, the self, we don't have a problem? I think all of us agree on that we are a conscious being, right? But how do we say it is purna? How do we say consciousness is purna? That is my question.
No, then it is another one. It means that I am not a karta. Because the conscious is not doing anything. This is only guna ganeshu vartante. I mean, only our gunas are vartating with each other, and I take myself to be as a karta, and that creates my ego, and that problem starts. I mean, it's a long thing, I mean, to be discussed.
Bhatti uncle?
Everything in this world is priya to someone or the other. Because it is priya, so it is full of anand. Being priya, it is, we feel happy on having it.
So what is
Any
full
and
of
everything.
Anand? What is full of Anand?
Consciousness.
Okay.
A thing, and everything is has consciousness. The whole Jagat has consciousness. Every Jada or Chetan object is having a consciousness because it is अध्यारोपित on चेतना. सब कुछ तो अध्यारोपित है चेतना पे, तो चेतना तो हर जगह पे है. ईश्वर इज एवरीवेयर, तो ईश्वर इज लवेबल.
Okay, I'll give a different angle to it. Okay, because consciousness is defined as that which is free of all attributes. Okay, completely free of all attributes, completely formless. Therefore, consciousness has no limitation in it. If it is formless, free of every attribute, then it doesn't have any limitation. Because what has limitation? Body has limitation, mind has got its limitations, objects have their limitations, limitations are in time, limitations are in space, limitations are in object. All kinds of limitations are there wherever there is any type of form, wherever there are attributes, limitations are there. But consciousness is nirguna, nirvikara, nirakara. Okay, nirakara, no form in it, free of every type of limitation. What is it that gives us the feeling of apurnata? It is limitation that gives us the feeling of apurnata. Therefore, what gives us the apurnata, Sunyankar, is our identification with what is limited. Okay?
Yes.
There is an identification with whatever is limited. And that is what is giving that sense of apurnata. But consciousness in itself is free of every type of limitation, every type of attribute. It is totally formless. So it is free of any kind of boundary or any kind of limit, be it of thought. Thought also has its limit. If you're having one thought, you're not having another thought. So even thinking has its limit. Feelings have their limit. If you are having one feeling, you don't have another feeling. Feelings also have their limit. So everything has its limit, you know. Everything means everything. Anything that we objectify is full of limits. Okay? But consciousness itself is not an object. It is that because of which everything is objectified, in whose presence everything is objectified, itself free of all limit. And therefore, in consciousness not having any limit, there is no apurnata. Where there is no apurnata, there is purnata. Where there is no dukkha, there is ananda. Iti. So in that sense, purely cognitively, understand it at the moment. Yeah, just as an equation. They just understand it cognitively. That consciousness is that which has no limit, has no form, has no attributes. It's not an object. Self-revealing and self-evident as consciousness in oneself, iti. And that self-revealing consciousness has got no limits at all, got no bound. Because if you say that, okay, I have got the limit of my body, I am conscious being, I have the limit of this body, right? Because I feel I am the body, this is the limit. I am up till here and everything else is not me. I have limit of this body. If I have limit of this body, then that limit is also something which is objectified. It is something which you know, right? And therefore, it can't be you. So anything which has got a boundary, which has got a limit, is something which is an object of your knowledge, an object of your experience. It can't be you. It is. So that sense that I am this body, okay, comes purely by identification. And that is what gives the sense of apurnata. Because body is apurna. There is no doubt about it. It is in time. It's got all kinds of apurnata in it. Mind is Apurna. None of us are, Sarvagnya like Ishvara. No, that Sarvagnyatvam is not there for any jiva as such. Iti. So mind and body are limited, and as long as that identification is very strongly present with mind and body, Apurnata sense will be look very real to us. That this is very real. My Apurnata is real. My Purnata only Bhagavan knows. Shastra only is talking about it. Iti. Yeah? Because of it's not that ignorance is there anymore. After so much of study, ignorance is not there really. It is only habitual error. The habitual error of taking oneself to be the body. Okay? That causes this habitual error of apurnata. That one feels I am apurna. Iti. So, being free of all superimposition of limitation, consciousness is free of all superimposition. It is free of all superimposition of any kind of limitation. Therefore, consciousness self is purna, totally purna, iti. Okay? Completely free of sorrow. Absolutely and totally free of sorrow, iti. Therefore, they say Satchidananda. Because it is Chit, it is consciousness, it is Sat, which is that which is always present. Okay? It can never be negated. It is Sat, and it is Ananda, meaning it is free of all limitation. There is no limitation. Therefore, when there is no limitation, there is no dukkha. Iti. There is no apurnata. Iti. There is only purnata. So, purnata is the truth. Purnata is the reality. Iti. Apurnata is something we have imagined. That's what Shastra has to say. Apurnata is our imagination. Iti.
Or ignorance.
Ignorance, and after some time we'll say identification. Ignorance is not, I would not say really speaking, ignorance is there as much as identification is there.
Okay.
Because many of our, at least I can definitely vouch for Bhatia uncle. He is very clear. But identification is there. And identification causes the sense of apurnata. So that's all it is. Then Swamiji has another very interesting. Swamiji makes a difference, He says he's using two words, experience and knowledge. This is what was very interesting to me. He's using two words there. Go to the second, existence is self-revealing in the second paragraph there. He says consciousness of the self is always experienced. How is it experienced? Because you know that I am. No, nobody needs to tell you that you are. So consciousness of the self is always experienced. Right? Then he says knowledge of self is also there. Knowledge of self is there as what? I am so and so. I am Swamini. I am Tattva Vidyananda, disciple of Dayananda. That is the knowledge which is there. So, along with the I am, which is very general, I am adding some specific knowledge and saying I am Tattva Vidyananda, disciple of Dayananda. Now, that statement, I am Tattva Vidyananda, disciple of Dayananda, what has happened over there? There is the Tattva Vidyananda, disciple of Dayananda, belongs to what? Belongs to body. Belongs to mind also. Belongs to ego. So the general knowledge we have is I am. मैं हूं. उसके साथ साथ जोड़ दिया है कि मैं सो एंड सो हूं, मैं स्वामिनी हूं. ठीक है? But that Swamini which you see, who is now in orange dress, that Swamini belongs to who? This body, this orange dress is on this body. Iti. So there is a knowledge, but is that the right knowledge? With reference to the body, it is okay, no problem. That knowledge is okay. But equating the I am to the body, is that correct? Iti. That is what is Shastra is questioning all the time. So the experience of self is always there in the form of I am. Along with that, because ignorance is there, one is adding something to it. You know, whatever is nearby, nearest is the body, experience of body is the nearest. And so we have added the experience of body and said, I am body. The body has got a name, Tattva Vidyananda. I am Tattva Vidyananda. Okay? And the relationship of the body was with Dayananda. So I am disciple of Dayananda. Iti. This body mind, of course, you can't just separate the mind from the body. Iti. So experience of self is always there, I am, and some kind of knowledge is there that I am so and so. Iti. Right? That so and so part is what Shastra questions us. And say, okay, the so and so part of it, is that entirely real? Is it something which is always true? Because the I am part, the consciousness is always existent. It is Sat. Whereas the body part is something which will come and go. It has come at some point in time, it is there for some time, and it will go in time. And therefore, he says, this I'm not looking at it, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Swami.
So Swamiji goes on to say the problem is wrong understanding of the self. Okay? It is a wrong understanding of the self which is the problem. Not lack of perception or anything. Okay. And he takes this example of that rope. That rope can make me unhappy only if I misperceive it as a snake. Experience of rope is there. But if I put the knowledge of snake on it, which is actually error, if I say the rope is snake, then I'm going to be unhappy, I'm going to be scared. Iti. Experience of rope is there, but the knowledge which I ascribe to the rope can be erroneous. Iti. That is the point here. Okay. So then he points out in page 17, last para, Vedanta only removes ignorance. Whatever is wrong knowledge, it removes that. That is Vedanta's job. Vedanta, you see the last, sentence there on that page 17. Vedanta simply informs us about the true nature of the self, thereby removing the ignorance that creates these complexes. Vedanta doesn't create knowledge, it removes ignorance. This is a technical point. We can also, this I will discuss with Swamiji. In a way, I have got a Purva Pakshi for this, So I will have to discuss with Swamiji. Because it tells us, it creates knowledge in the sense it tells us you're Satchidananda. So in that sense, it has created knowledge, it has removed the ignorance. But unless I'm told I'm Satchidananda, I am there shining as Satchidananda, but I need that knowledge that I am Satchidananda. It is why I'm going to talk about this to Swamiji. He though doesn't see his WhatsApp message. What a pity. I asked him this question actually, He has not seen his WhatsApp message. So I'll have to call him and ask him. Yeah. Look at this on page 18. Self-experience and self-knowledge are always there. But what happens is that along with self-knowledge, there is also ignorance. What is the self-knowledge he's talking about? I am. Okay? The experience is I am, the knowledge is I am. But because ignorance is there, then we are adding something to it, and that is what we call as adhyasa. Okay. So all we need to do is remove the ignorance or the false part from whatever knowledge we have now. What is the knowledge we have now? I am.
Body.
To that we have added all kinds of things. I am body, I am mind, I am emotions, I am ego, I am memory, I am this, I am husband, I am wife, which is all correct. Nothing wrong with that. I am, wife is in relationship. You're using the word wife, I say I am wife. Okay. Like I say, I'm disciple. Disciple is describing the relationship of this body with another body. Iti. So that is what we are saying. Understand, what belongs to what. Okay, that's all Vedanta wants to do. Give you the knowledge of what belongs to what. So if I say I am disciple, that disciple relationship is referring to the relationship of this body with the guru body, right? With this mind, with the guru mind. It is referring to that relationship. But then, am I body or am I mind? That is what Vedanta is pointing to. In reality, is there some part of me which is always there, which can never be negated, which is always shining, cannot be negated at all? That part, is it related to anything? Iti Vedanta says, okay? So all we need to do is remove the ignorance or the false part from whatever knowledge we have now. The knowledge is I am. To that I am, we don't need to add anything. Just in our mind. It's not that we physically remove anything. There's nothing to remove physically. All relationships stay the same. Nothing happens to our relationships. But in our mind, we recognize that there is some dimension of ourselves, okay, which is so fundamental to us. Very, very fundamental. That even when you go to sleep, it is there, shining all the time. It is. You tell me, when you go to sleep, do any relationships exist at that time? At the time of your sleep, deep sleep, that time you're not father, you're not husband, you're not wife, you're not mother, you're not friend, you're not student, you're not disciple.
Nothing.
That time, none of these are there. But you are very much there. It is to that you that we are referring. Okay? Who is that you? It is that Vedanta is referring to. Then Swamiji is just all this Tyaga and all here. So Aparokshanubhuti is the true understanding of the self. Okay. There was one sentence which confused me on page 19. 1, 2, 3, fourth sentence. Self and non-self are both involved in experience as well as knowledge. So we have to remove what is non-self from experience and then from knowledge. So I was thinking, what is Swamiji saying here? I came to my own understanding. I interpreted it in my own way. Now I'll have to confirm it with Swamiji. So self and non-self are both in, for example, I'll give another example. Example of, there is a pot. Supposing there is a pot. Okay. When I'm looking at the pot, when there is ignorance, my knowledge is pot. When there is a little more knowledge, what is my experience? When I'm in ignorance, my experience is pot and my knowledge is pot. Supposing I have studied little Vedanta, then when I am looking at the pot, my experience is clay, right? Because actually I'm experiencing clay. There is no such thing called pot. I am experiencing clay. Pot is a nama for a rupa of clay. There is no pot. Where is the pot? Is pot a real thing? Right? So I have got, this is a very interesting thing, you know. So my experience is of clay, and then nama rupa is there, so I called it pot. Okay. Then I go one step further. Now I am fully enlightened. Okay. And my experience is clay, and my knowledge is clay. No pot. Pot gone. My knowledge is also clay. Imagine
Experience.
enlightened people must be like that, you know, they're looking at the world and their knowledge is Sachidananda, the experience is Sachidananda, their knowledge is Sachidananda. This is all Sachidananda. Whatever I am seeing is Sachidananda. Namarupa is Namarupa, doesn't exist. Iti. So when he's saying this, you know, self and non-self are both involved in experience as well as in knowledge. So we have to remove what is non-self from the experience. How will we remove non-self from the experience? Only by understanding it as self. There's no other way of removing, you know. There's no physical removing. See, if you're experiencing, you are looking at a pot. Okay. Now this Vedanti comes in. Vedanta bola, कि ना ना ये तो clay है. So now what have you done? You have removed the pot. How did you remove the pot? Did you actually remove the pot? In your understanding only you understood pot too is very much there, but this pot is clay. No? So your knowledge also is it is clay, and your experience is also it is clay. That's all I could interpret it as, you know. So when you're looking at, so when you go looking at self and you're saying, I am Tattva Vidyananda. Okay. So the non-self part is Tattva Vidyananda. I am is the Satchidananda part. So non-self is the Tattva Vidyananda. So I am Satchidananda, and the Tattva Vidyananda is Satchidananda. Everywhere there is only Satchidananda. There is nothing else here. Iti. This is real complex, this thing. So I will speak with Swamiji and see whether he was interpreting it that way or what exactly he meant by this, you know, self and non-self are both involved in experience as well as in knowledge. So we have to remove what is non-self from experience and then from knowledge. Very, very odd sentence. Eh? And that is Aparokshanubhuti, he says. When you recognize that you are Satchidananda, let's put Satchidananda in English. What does Satchidananda means? It means consciousness. Chit is consciousness. That consciousness is Sat. What does Sat means? Sat means that which is existent and which is existent always. Okay, which is ever existent. So your consciousness that is ever existent, and your Ananda, you are without any limit, without any boundary. So Satchidananda means consciousness that is always existent, that is ever existent, and which is totally free of all boundaries, totally free of all limits. That would be the English translation of Satchidananda. That is Aparokshanubhuti. When we recognize ourselves as self-revealing, self-existent, self-effulgent consciousness that is ever existent and which is free of all boundaries, that is Aparoksha Anubhuti. Yeah, the recognition of the self as it is. You have Gita as it is, no? So now we have self as it is. Okay, the self as it is. Okay. Now let's look at this. Now we can read. Maybe Sonia uncle, you can read this. The need for a teacher. Did we read this last time? I don't know.
Yes.
No.
page
No.
page 19.
Yeah.
Yes, the need for a teacher.
Oh.
When we study these texts, however, we find that they quote many statements from the Upanishad. Therefore, one may ask whether we should study the Upanishad first to study this, or study this to study the Upanishad. Pujya Swamiji used to say that if you want to study the Bhagavad Gita, you start with the first verse, second verse, third verse, and so on. But you can completely understand any given verse only when you understand all the verses. Every verse is related in some way or the other to other verse. So we can properly understand one verse only if we know all the verses, and you can know all the verses only provided you understand every verse. In other words, there is a catch here. Therefore, you should go to the teacher who knows, and not only this text but also all the various references that come from the Upanishad and other scripture as well. A teacher should be well versed. As a student, you may not need to know everything, but a teacher needs to know a lot of things. Only then can the teacher correctly present topic and provide clear understanding.
Yes. Uncle, now you can read the next verse. Next, this thing. There's nothing there. That's very clear. No?
Myself,
The author and commentator.
the author and commentator of Aparokshanubhuti. The text of Aparokshanubhuti is said to have been composed by Shri Adi Shankaracharya.
Oh.
There is also Tika
There
commentary.
is also Tika.
Tika commentary on this text written by Swami Vidyarana.
Vidyaranya.
Vidyaranya.
Vidyaranya. He will be referred to in this text as a Tikakara. Swami Vidyarkarna is also a very famous teacher. He authored the book called Panchdashi and is one of the highly respected teacher of Vedanta.
Yeah. Bhatti uncle, you will read this, the introductory prayer.
The text begins with Mangalacharya,
Mangalacharana.
Mangalacharna, an auspicious form of prayer. It is customary to begin any auspicious task with the prayer. This Mangala Acharan also acts as an introduction, so writers frequently make use of it to convey more than just prayer, as we will see here. A Mangala Acharan can be one of three kinds. The first is Ishta Devta Namaskara, salutation to one's Ishta Devta, personal deity. Among the vast array of choices that we have in the worship, there is a concept of the Ishta Devta, chosen deity, for whom one has particular reverence and devotion, whom one therefore worships. It could be Shri Krishna, Rama, Shiva, or anybody. It is always worship of Ishvara, of course, but here it is in a given form that is conducive to invoke in you the devotion for Ishvara. The most important thing in the worship is devotion. The reason we have so many Ishta Devtas is because different people have different dispositions and preferences. One deity or Devta may appeal to somebody, while some other Devta may appeal to somebody else. So we have a vast array of different deities, each with his or her own characteristics. They are all Ishvara, but each Devta highlights some particular aspect. For example, Lord Krishna highlights the love and joy aspect of Ishvara, whereas Lord Rama highlights truth, dharma, righteousness, and Lord Shiva highlights renunciation, non-attachment, and knowledge. Thus, one type of prayer is Namaskar Atmak, a salutations to your Isht Devta.
No.
The second type of prayer is Tattva Anusandhan Atmaka, meaning it is in the form of Anusandhan, meditation or deliberation on Tattva truth. For example, the prayer Purna Midam describes the nature of the truth is Purna, complete, whole. When you utter this verse as a prayer, there is an Anusandhan in the mind, a meditation upon that Tattva which is Purna. The third type of prayer is Ashirvad Atmaka, a benediction or a blessing. Here, Sri Shankaracharya has written this prayer as a deliberation on or salutation to his own chosen deity, who is Shri Hari or Narayana. Beginning an auspicious endeavor with a prayer is for removal of possible obstacles, shows that the teacher's humility. He also accepts that there can be obstacles in what he is doing. Sri Shankaracharya was a very wise person, liberated, and was himself said to be the incarnation of Lord Shiva. Even so, he begins his endeavor with a prayer, either because he desires the removal of the obstacles or for Shishya Shiksha, to educate the disciples and establish a tradition. Lord Krishna says, Yad
Yadyadacharati Shrestha.
Yadyada Charati Sreshtaha. Whatever a leader or a respected person does, Tatta Devas,
Deve Taro Janaha.
other people automatically follow. When someone like Sri Shankaracharya begins with the prayer, you and I will also definitely do it. Thus, the first verse is a prayer.
Yeah, so there's nothing difficult in this. He described that there are three kinds of prayers. Okay. The first one was Ishta Devata, that somebody who is Mangala Charanam is done saluting Ishta Devata. The second type, to get blessings of Ishta Devata, to remove all the obstacles. The second type is where the Mangala Charanam describes the nature of truth. And the third time was Ashirvada, Atmaka iti, for blessing iti. So now here, the first prayer, in fact, I should have said it earlier also. I will say and then you all can repeat. Shri Harim Paramanandam
Harim Paramanandam
Upadeshtaramishwaram
Upadeshtaramishwaram
Vyapakam Sarvalokanam
Vyapakam Sarvalokanam
Karanam Tam Namamyaham.
Karanam Tam Namamyaham.
Very beautiful prayer actually. Swamiji is going to describe every word in very beautiful detail. Okay. So let's look at the individual meanings. Shri Harim, to Lord Hari, Shri Harim. Who is this Lord Hari? Paramanandam, of the very nature of Purnata. Upadeshtaram, he is the teacher. He is Ishwaram, the Lord. He is Vyapakam, the one who pervades. He is, what does he pervade? Sarva Lokanam, of all the worlds. No, and Sarva Lokanam Karanam. He is the Karanam, the source of all the worlds. And unto him, that Lord, Namami, my salutations. I even say Namaha, my surrender. To Lord Hari, who is the nature of happiness or fullness, who is the teacher and the Lord, the one who pervades all the worlds as their source, unto that Lord, my salutations, my surrender. I will read little bit, okay? Then I'll give it to Sarojanti. Prayer is ultimately to the Lord who is the self. The Ishta Devata of Sri Shankaracharya is Sri Hari. Hari means Lord Vishnu and is derivatively explained as Harati iti Hari. Harati Papani, Harati iti Harihi. The one who removes the devotee's papa, sins, and dukkha, suffering. In other words, Ajnanam tat karyam. Hari removes what? Ajnanam and tat karyam. He removes ignorance and its cause. Okay? And its broods. He says tat karyam, sorry, not karanam, but karyam. All the effects of ignorance. So ultimately, we are praying to the Lord who is our own self. This is a big one, no? Ultimately, we are praying to the Lord who is our own self. So, that very consciousness which we talked about earlier, who is Satchidananda, who is self effulgent, self revealing, who is ever existent, who is free of all boundaries, whose very nature is, who's got Swarupananda, that self is the same Hari, the Lord. Iti. Ultimately, we are praying to the Lord who is our own self. That self has to reveal itself in its true form. Right now, it is revealing itself as a jiva, a limited being. The same self should reveal itself as Brahman, the limitless. Therefore, we also need the grace of the self. Then there's a beautiful portion, grace is always required. Auntie, would you like to read this
Yes,
part? Grace
grace
is
is
always
always
required.
required. We always need grace. When
Hmm.
we want knowledge, we need the grace of what we want to know. For example, you are deliberating upon something, and all of a sudden, some clarity comes to you. Are you the author, or what clarity, or is the clarity given to you? We can say it is either way. The devotee would say that is this clarity is given to me by some Ishwar. Ishwar is the nature of the knowledge. So when knowledge take place, even day to day knowledge, you can say that Ishwar has revealed himself in the form of knowledge.
Yeah,
We,
stop, auntie. Auntie, you must stop when full stops are there. Otherwise, very difficult for us to, see the this thing. So Ishvara is of the nature of knowledge.
yes,
So when knowledge takes place, even day to day, कि
we,
उधर एक tomato बैठा है और वो you say this is a tomato. That is Ishvara revealing himself, in the form of tomato. That Ishvara alone is everything. So Ishvara says, this is tomato, iti. Has revealed himself in the form of that knowledge. Okay, auntie, carry on.
we need the Ishwar Kripa, grace of Ishvara, Guru Kripa, grace of teacher, Shastra Kripa, grace of scriptures, and the Atma Kripa, grace of the very self.
Yes, stop. Auntie, how many kripas we need?
Four
Four of them.
Guru,
Four of them. Four type of kripas are required. How much grace we require? Okay. Carry on.
uh, all the grace, and therefore there is a prayer because grace comes by prayer. Here the author remembers Sri Hari, who removes all the devotees' sins and sorrow by removing ignorance and the products of ignorance.
Auntie, stop. I will ask Anita to read now.
The word Hari comes together with the word Sri, which here can stand for Brahma Vidya. Actually, Shri means Lakshmi. Lakshmi always goes with Hari, who is Narayana. Lakshmi is wealth, and real wealth is nothing but knowledge. Real wealth is Brahma Vidya. So, Shri Hari means Hari who is endowed with Brahma Vidya. Hari can be invoked in many ways as the Lord, Creator, Sustainer, Dissolver, Omniscient, Omnipotent, etc. You can invoke him for protecting you from various difficulties. But here we are invoking Hari with Brahma Vidya. This Hari is the nature of Parma Nanda. Ananda means happiness. Since happiness is a word that we use in our day to day communication, we add one adjective, Parama, and makes it Paramananda. Parama is it that which is beyond the limitation of space, time, and condition. It is the happiness which is there in all places, at all times, and in all situations.
Nice. You ready to go ahead? 1 minute. I'll ask Suni is ready to go ahead.
We can
I
continue.
hear you, uncle.
We can continue.
Yeah,
No.
okay. Okay. So, Auntie, you can continue reading. Huh?
What we seek is unlimited happiness. We say Paramananda because that is the Ananda we really want. We don't want Ananda that is confined to a given time, place, or situation. We don't want to be happy in the morning and miserable in the evening, or happy at home but miserable outside, and so on. What we want is not just Ananda, but Paramananda, limitless happiness. Our happiness should not be confined to or restricted in any way. We don't want conditional happiness. We want unconditional happiness. The happiness that we normally experience is conditional happiness. When we satisfy some condition, happiness becomes possible. The food may be excellent, but the condition is that my stomach should be in order, my teeth should be in place, my mouth should not have ulcers, and so on. We take it for granted. But if all these conditions are not there, we can't enjoy the food. Any enjoyment involves satisfying a variety of conditions. So whatever happens, we enjoy is conditional happiness. Whatever happiness we enjoy is conditional happiness. We settle for limited happiness because we don't know any better. But we are not content with it. Our true desire is to have a happiness that is free from all conditions or limitations. We should be able to enjoy happiness despite ulcers in the mouth, a stomach ache, a headache, or any condition. But is it ever possible to have happiness that is unconditional? Is it possible to have happiness in all places, at all times, under all conditions? If so, where is it?
Yeah. Now, Sony uncle can read.
Happiness is only in the self. The only thing that is there at all times, in all places, and under all conditions is the self. Therefore, happiness can be Parma only when it comes from the self. Anything that comes from non-self can only be aparma, conditional or limited, because it involves the duality of the experiencer and the experienced. Paramananda is there only when there is no duality between the experiencer and the experienced. And this is possible only when it is myself. Paramananda must therefore be the nature of the self. The limitless has to be the self, because everything that we experience, everything we perceive is limited. Everything in the universe is created and thus perishable. However great it is, however long lasting it is, someday it will perish. There is only one thing that is not created, and that is the self, which is consciousness. Therefore, even when the author is salutating Shri, Shri Hari and saying Shri Hariyam Paramanandam, that Shri Hari is none other than his own self, which is Paramananda.
This is a very, very thought-provoking set of paragraphs here. Okay, when you will look at each of these sentences carefully, spend time contemplating on it, what exactly Swamiji is saying when he says that anything that comes from non-self can only be aparama, conditional or limited, because it involves the duality of the experiencer and the experienced. Right in the beginning, in that happiness is only the self, first para. Happiness is only the self, which you were reading just now, Sonyankar.
Yes.
In that para, there is this very interesting sentence, anything that comes from non-self is aparama, because it's conditional or limited, because it involves the duality of experiencer and experienced. Swamiji sometimes has very novel ways of saying things. So if we, supposing I get happiness from gulab jamun, my favorite example, okay? I'm getting happiness from gulab jamun. That happiness is limited because I am sitting here as an experiencer of that happiness, of gulab jamun happiness, okay, which is coming from the gulab jamun. So there is experienced and there is an experiencer, and both of them are limiting each other. Experiencer is not the gulab jamun is not the experiencer. There is limit, you know. So any happiness that is going to come from this relationship of experiencer experienced can only be limited, because each of them is limited. Any happiness you get from that will only be limited, iti. Then he goes on to sense Paramananda is there only when there is no duality between experiencer and the experienced. So which
Yes.
situation is that, where there is no duality between experiencer and experienced?
That is that Atam Jnana, when I have got that, so what I am, when I will say, you will say that I am going very far. When I know that I am the Jagat Karan and I am the Bhagwan myself, I am the Satchitanand, which is partless, means that I see the reflection of myself in everything, what is seen in this Bhautik Jagat.
Then that is what is that experience of non-duality.
Yes.
So that's what is. That is where Paramanandam is. He is saying Paramanandam is where there is no duality, and that can only be the self.
No,
That's
Guruma,
his point here.
In everywhere, wherever the Bhautak Jagat is involved, there is a duality.
There is an appearance of duality. There is no real duality.
No, that is once you get a gyan. But the ignorance people I am talking, he sees the duality and the desires go on multiplying.
Yeah.
Yes, so that is once you know, I mean, as you are telling that we know only, we have not digested, we have not contemplated.
That's all.
Yes, but I see that what the Shastra is telling, that everything is around me is nothing but myself.
Exactly.
That is what that Raman Maharshi said, the total Jagat is nothing but your reflection. It is just a mirror.
Yeah, as though. It's an appearance.
It is an appearance.
So what he's saying is, usually we think that the happiness that we get from non-self is the happiness. But Swamiji is pointing out it will always be limited, because it is happiness which is coming from something which is created, and whatever is created is going to perish, and therefore the happiness you got from that perishable thing is also going to perish. Iti. Okay. So there is only one thing that is not created, is another way of putting it, and that is the self. So when the author is saluting Hari, Sri Hari, the divine Vishnu, okay, saying Shri Harim Paramanandam, he is actually saluting
himself.
his own reality,
Yes.
which is Shri Hari. Yeah? Okay. Next, do you want to continue? We are on 56 minutes.
We can stop here.
We can stop, Guruma, because again we have
That's
got
fine.
another at 6:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 hour is enough. 50 minutes.
More than
Yes,
usually 40, 45.
our normal courses in engineering college is also like this, 45 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
When we were young. So at this old age, it is more
Exactly.
than
30 minutes also. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Guruma, tomorrow at what time you will go?
Tomorrow 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hope for the best.
Yes.
Guruma, all the best of luck to you, Guruma.
Yes.
Tomorrow all will be well, you see.
I'm sure.
So we will be praying for that. So you will be back home in the
Only
evening.
by 5 or so. Yeah.
Achha.
A whole day thing. Huh? Okay. Because of the billing, insurance, this, that, and all.
So, Guruma, then the next class you will tell later on, or
No. Monday. It will be there.
it is Monday always.
I will do it. Huh? Yeah. Okay.
Om Namo Narayana.
Om Namo Narayana. Thanks a lot.
Let me
Take
see if
care.
it will be Monday. I have to go for that Kalpana's thing. No, I have to go for one function. Then I will do it earlier. If I can't do it on Monday, I'll do it. I have to see the dates.